So 2 years ago, we were living in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we decided to sell most of our things and move halfway across the country to New York City.
Yes.
And now it is 2 years later, and we have decided to sell most of our things, pack up the rest, and move all the way across the country. And we're gonna move to Portland, Oregon. We will talk about why Portland in a little bit, but first, I guess we'll just talk about why are we leaving New York City to begin with.
So back in December of last year, we were gone the whole month of December from New York. We were in London, we were in Oklahoma with family and friends, we were in Colorado with family, and we were flying back on December 31st. And I can't remember who looked at the other first, but we were sitting on the plane and we just looked at each other and we're like, I'm not really like that excited to go back to New York. And I think that's when kind of we started asking questions about why aren't we excited to go back? Is it because it's the middle of winter and winter is the worst here?
The worst.
Or is it because we were just with a lot of family? Or we didn't know really why we weren't excited to come back. But I think after asking those questions for a couple of months, we realized that there's like certain values that we have, like life values that we hold pretty strong, that New York is in like direct opposition with. And I think it just makes the city a little less fun to be in, you know?
Speaking of those values, let's talk about two of them. One is to live in like deep community. And New York, it's not that you can't find friends or, you know, people with family here, obviously, but in our experience, we have not been able to find community here to be able to find like real, like everyday friends. We've been able to find friends who we know, we love, and we like hanging out with, but on a deeper level, like people that want to spend and do everyday life with. And the way I've come to understand this through having these conversations is it's the balance between community and society. And this is something that when we were in Tulsa, we had tons of community, probably the most quality community that we have ever had, or maybe ever will have, hopefully not, but you know, it was very good. But there's not a whole lot of society, there's not a whole lot of the city, the things, all the other things that make up a society just were what drew us to move to New York City. But because of New York City's cost of living, it creates this tension between community and society, where community is always taking a backseat to what society is in New York, because people have to pay an extreme amount of rent, which means they have to work more or harder to earn enough money to pay rent. And then once you have rent paid, you want to be able to do more than just pay rent. So you have to work more and you have to work harder in order to add those extra amenities to your life. And once you have those, you also want to travel and, you know, on and on and on and on. It's this perpetual cycle of needing to make more money and work harder and climb the career ladder in New York City. And that is most people that we have come to know and come in contact with in New York City, that is the #1 priority. Basically, my own opinion is that I have come to see that New York is like a mecca of work, and people move here to worship work, and anything that takes away from the work part of their life is ultimately something that is causing them to not be able to pay rent or not be able to make the money that they want. That is like something that's in direct opposition of what we want in life.
Right.
Because of that goal of living in deep community, people just have a hard time sacrificing what it takes to really live in community. And then the other one of our goals is to live in financial freedom.
Yeah.
And because of everything I just said, It is very hard to live in financial freedom here. And so as we were talking about all of this stuff, you know, it's like we really value living well below our means and have lots of margin in our life. But because of the cost of living here, we have to decide, do we want to get other jobs, do more jobs, like all that type of stuff. And then whenever it comes to like what I think actually matters in life, I don't want to spend my life working away my time so that I can live in a certain place that I no longer have the wonder for.
What we were just talking about on our walk was that the moment that you lose the wonder for a city is the moment you should leave. And we were talking especially in a place like New York where it's so hard and so expensive to live here, that what's the point in grinding every day for something that you don't even really appreciate anymore.
Yeah, like I think that's the thing that is in direct opposition, right? Like financial freedom and community and are in direct opposition with the way that New York City runs. So just like recognizing that, I think we were like, okay, we always knew that New York City was going to be a temporary thing. We never thought we'd be here forever. We did think we'd be here like maybe 5 years, and it turns out that 2 years is plenty.
Yeah, we learned all the lessons we needed in 2 years.
Yeah, so, I mean, there are other reasons that we're leaving. I mean, New York makes me incredibly anxious. I already deal with anxiety, and it just like adds on every little thing that makes New York difficult, like adds to that anxiety. Obviously, like the money side of things, but also just like I can't go walk down the street without like having to fight to walk down the street. You know what I mean? Everyone is just like, it's just a mess. So,
and the constant noise.
And constant noise.
That's one thing that has even given, like, I don't really suffer from anxiety, but that has given me anxiety. It's made me anxious, like, to walk down the street and to not be able to have a conversation at a normal volume.
Yeah.
And even yelling at times, people can't hear you because of all of the sirens, the honking, the diesel trucks, just all of it, all the time.
Yeah.
Never can escape from it.
Yeah, so there are other reasons that we're leaving as well. I also think I didn't realize, coming from Oklahoma, like, there's so much nature around you automatically, like that you just don't even think about it. And so I didn't think that nature was like a necessary for me, but it turns out it is. I didn't know that until we came here, where there's literally none. So not that I don't know, there's just like a lot of little things, I guess, that like add up to my anxiety, I guess is what I'm saying. So just like learning all of that, I think we just decided that we'd rather live somewhere else and come back to New York to visit and like really love visiting, as opposed to trying to live, you know?
Yeah, and I think that that point there of like not knowing that you needed nature is one of the reasons that we are truly thankful that we moved to New York.
Totally.
Because this 2 years has taught us so much about ourselves, and like we were talking about, our core values of just really defining what we want out of life.
Yeah.
And where we should be and what we should be seeking and all of that type of stuff. It has expedited our process of figuring that stuff out, because it's such a difficult place that you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so it just made us realize, like, okay, these are the things that we think our life is and what we think brings true meaning to our lives. New York doesn't offer most of these, so let's go somewhere else.
Exactly. And I think whenever we were looking for places to move, we had not very many things on our list of requirements. It was, we wanted somewhere that had community that we were already a part of. So that obviously drastically cut down. So any cities that had friends in them, basically. And then the other major thing was we didn't want to be landlocked again, because I actually really do love being on a coast, which those two things literally left Portland.
Yep.
And that was it. So neither of us have ever been to Portland. We've never visited the Pacific Northwest. So I have no idea what it's like up there, but I feel like it's gonna be fun. And we have really good friends there already. There's tons of nature. It's a great travel hub. Yeah, so it kind of just checked all the boxes.
Yeah, it checks the box because it has friends there, and then it checks the box because it is 60% cheaper than New York City.
Yeah.
So instead of having to increase our income twofold in order to survive here, we can just decrease our expenses by half, and we are already making it. So that is a no-brainer for me. Basically, I've just come to the conclusion that now, after experiencing New York and having all the fun, like whenever it just comes to living my everyday life, the cost of living is not worth the quality of living for me.
Yeah.
And then another like statement that I've like kind of crafted like for why I'm leaving is that New York takes all of your available resources for external growth and survival, and I want to create ample margin for internal growth and exploration. I just want to be free and have that time to like be introspective instead of worrying about my external like life, and be more mindful in that way.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. We did a podcast that kind of goes deeper into each of these reasons. If you want to listen to kind of like the full explanation of everything, the link is in the description for that. And then also we are planning a cross-country road trip. So we're driving from New York City to Portland, Oregon, and we're stopping at, I don't know, like 8 or 9 places along the way. It's gonna be a whole thing, and it's gonna be exciting and probably exhausting.
So yeah, that's it. We're leaving New York City. We're moving to Portland. We're gonna take about a month to get there, doing a cross-country road trip, and we should probably get back to packing before the trailer shows up.
Yes.